Nora Dunn. I have no idea what to say. Okay. Hi there, I'm Nora Dunn, otherwise known as the professional hobo. Today, I'm in San Diego and I'm visiting a very, very dear friend of mine, someone who's very dear to me, who I met in Peru a couple of years ago, and we've spent at least 6 months in Peru together, cumulatively, at least. This is Aline, and I'm visiting Aline in her home in San Diego right now. And as you can see behind us, we have a gorgeous beach. She is literally right on the beach. I can smell the ocean at all times. I woke up in the morning and saw dolphins out my window as I was laying in bed. So it's a pretty special place to be. So is it safe to say that travel's been in your blood for a while?
Absolutely, yes. Since my mother was French, and she married an American. So during my childhood, I was very blessed and had the opportunity to travel to mostly France, but other countries in Europe when I was growing up. And I lived there for a year right after I graduated from high school, and then I traveled quite a bit myself. So
cool. It's actually funny that you should mention that you spent a year living in France, because I wanted to talk to you today about what it's like to live abroad in different places. And specifically, I wanted to talk to you about what it's like to live in Peru, given that you've been there for cumulatively. How long have you been in Peru?
I would say overall, if I added it all together, it might come up to about a year.
And you've been toying with the idea of relocating to Peru, yeah?
Absolutely. I just fell in love with it. It just feels like home to me there, in a completely different way than living here in Southern California. There's so many things that I love about in particular where we met in the Sacred Valley. But I love that country very much. And when I'm there, I just feel very at ease. And it's a very real, palatable feeling for me. So that has caused me to dream about moving there, and actually look into the logistics of moving there. It's been on my mind quite a bit, and it hasn't happened yet. I've come very close, though, this last time. I pretty much have a complete set of kitchen equipment and furniture to live somewhere down there. So
you like to plan ahead. Don't worry about residency paperwork and businesses and all that stuff. I need cutlery.
Exactly. It's so true.
I wanted to talk to you about some of the differences of what it's like to live in a place like Peru versus living here. So we'll start with the bad news first. What are some of the challenges or some of the unexpected things that come with living in a place like Peru?
I would say that the challenges, if I were to compare the two, would be primarily there's strikes often, and they can hold up what is already, not necessarily sometimes the easiest way to get through life.
So what kind of strikes?
Okay, so they'll have work strikes. They'll have strikes, and then the way that they manifest is that everybody will stop working, and then they will, also put roadblocks in the roads, which is a really fascinating thing actually that happens, and it's actually kind of cool even still, because there's human beings, and I've never actually seen how they've put them there, but I've seen how they've taken them off the road. But they usually use manpower to put giant boulders in the middle of the road, and so nobody can, pass. So that's their main way of striking. Mm-hmm. For what they're striking for varies, but that's primarily what they do. Mm-hmm. It's just that, if you make plans to do things, sometimes you have to just wait and be patient. So that's fine. So that's okay, as long as you know that that's what you're up against. The other thing that I noticed, too, is that they have, which we've experienced in California, actually, are like rolling blackouts. And over there, they'll have like a rolling blackout, in a sense, in a way, like where they have the water shut off for a few days. Mm-hmm. They'll have the electricity shut off for a few days. Because the water there also, not only do they shut it off, but water contamination is a much larger problem there than it is here. So making sure that you're careful about your water usage and the way you consume water, whether it's in food or beverages, is something that you have to be conscious of at all times.
That was probably one of the biggest adjustments for me, was water. It was the fact that you can't drink what comes out of the tap, can't even brush your teeth with what comes out of the tap if you really want to be careful. So all your water has to be filtered or bought, or and even something as simple as, if you want to have a salad for dinner, you can't wash your salad in the tap water. You've got to use filtered water or some sort of extract that'll clean it. So constantly being conscious of the water, of clean water, certainly was one of my biggest adjustments.
Yes, I agree totally.
Well, and for me, that also actually affected my decisions of what I would eat as well. Like I would never go to a restaurant and have a salad unless I personally knew the chef and knew exactly that they were washing everything with filtered water.
Exactly.
I wouldn't eat any fruits that couldn't be peeled, or any vegetables that couldn't be cooked in some way, just because it's too much of a risk. Parasites risky. Are no fun.
No. No, not a good way to go. The quantity of variety that we have here, that does not necessarily exist there. But it's fine because, if I want to just live the Peruvian lifestyle, then I live, then I eat the same as everybody else. So that's, I think, the only things that I can think of. And I don't know if you can think of anything else.
What I can think of? The toilet paper.
We talked about that, and I kind of like it, so it doesn't bother me.
I too. So the toilet paper issue that we've talked about is that the septic systems pretty much across the board in Peru are unable to handle toilet paper. So you don't throw toilet paper in the toilet. You throw it in the garbage can next to the toilet, and it's just so commonly done. And whenever I arrive to Peru, or a place like Peru, and I have to start doing that, I personally find a bit of an adjustment period. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot to don't put it in the toilet. But whenever I leave a place like that, now that I'm used to putting it in the bin, I feel guilty if I get to like North America and I can and even am expected to put it in the toilet. I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is so good for the septic systems here, but I'll do it anyway.
I know. There's something really, for me as a person who's trying to make the least impact on the planet as I can with the least footprint. When I'm down there and I learned that was how, you managed your that time of your day, I was so impressed because I was envisioning like, oh my gosh, so this entire country, nobody's throwing their toilet paper in the septic system. It's merely just like black water.
Yeah.
Wow, what a revolution. Like, what an incredible idea. What an amazing way to live our lives.
Now, after you were down in Peru for this longest time, for the 6 months, were there any surprises that you experienced in coming back to the States?
Definitely. I think actually my daughter Chloe put it best when she was like, I feel like we just stepped into like the future. I feel like we're in a futuristic movie. I feel like I became extremely conscious of how we have so much shit that we don't need to live. We are such a consumer-driven culture, and also we are living this illusion almost that we need all this stuff, like all these things that we clearly don't need. The contrast was shocking to me. Like I felt disconnected from what is real to me in my heart on the earth. Living in Peru, maybe the reason I like it so much is because it's simple in comparison and yet very real. I mean, it's simple, but it's the real way to me to live as a human being.
Yep.
Some of these inconveniences that we were talking about with the strikes or the water or the bureaucracy or whatever, pale in comparison in a way to like here where basically all this stuff that people have, I feel, causes more stress.
Mm-hmm.
The need to make money to buy all this stuff, for example, is stressful. And when I got here, what was also so surprising was the lack of patience that people have for small things, like standing in line, the lack of patience that people have for each other, the lack of consciousness that people have for each other. So let's see, what else was shocking? It was shocking when I put gas in my car and there was and the television comes on. And I was like, do we really need that?
Wow.
Do I really need to have TV while I'm getting gas? I mean, this is what I mean about living in the future. That's like a good example. There's a bunch more that I can't even think of, but it's just, It seems a little bit.
You go into the grocery store and there's like 52 different kinds of cereal to choose from. That I always found weird.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. There's just too much shit that we don't need to live. So,
but by the same token, I remember speaking with you shortly after you had just arrived back to San Diego from Peru. And you were still really at that idea. You were really ready to rock in terms of moving down to Peru. And you said, Nora, things, I'm all for living in Peru. This is great. But Nora, man, it is so easy to be here. It's like baseball and bubble gum. And I will never forget that saying. It's like baseball and bubble gum. I say that now.
I don't remember saying that. Did I say that?
You did. You did.
Yeah.
So as much as we might be disconnected here, and there might be some concerns, environmentally and societally, you do fundamentally find it very easy to be here. Yeah.
It is. I mean, it is an easier way of life for the comforts.
Yeah.
For like luxuries.
Yeah.
That would be luxuries in Peru, I guess I could say.
And do you suppose that the comfort of living here and the comfort of the known as well might have something to do with why a lot of people would like to travel but find themselves not able to actually book that plane ticket because there's a fear of losing the comfort factor that we're used to, or there's a fear of losing just fear of the unknown entirely?
Yes, I think so. And then I would if someone were to say that to me, I would encourage them to push outside of their little comfort zone, because it's not that uncomfortable. I mean, it is like it's not like we're going to
the moon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we are human beings, we all have the same basic needs, and so I would hope that no one would ever prevent themselves from traveling for just their own comfort zone. Because going to Peru is definitely not an uncomfortable thing. I feel like one of the things that I learned, and somebody I think told me this, that they feel that the thing that causes people to get old quickly is their inability to adapt to different situations. And if anything will help you to get outside your comfort zone and stay young, is to adapt to a new situation. Yeah. And that really does make you feel younger, and it gives you more confidence, actually.
Cool. Yeah. Well, do you have any last thoughts you wanted to share with our adoring fans?
Well, of course I'm going to plug my business a little. If you plan on getting married on the beach, please look into dreambeachwedding.com, because we've been in business for 13 years and we really enjoy and love and have a lot of passion for what we do, and it's really fun. And so check us out. And then the other thing is, I think one of the greatest gifts I feel in life is the ability that we have, the freedom that we have as human beings, is to travel and go experience different cultures, different worlds, different foods, different ways of life, different ways of being. It's very fulfilling. It's very, it's a gift. It's a true gift of life. So that would be my parting thing.
Well, thank you very much for joining me in this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great. What a great fun way to play around with vlog formats, and you're a gorgeous, in every sense of the word, interview guest.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Likewise.
See you next month. Signing off.
Bye.